Good morning, everyone. Got a nice big crowd joining us today. Going to take a look at the new Authentisign 2.0. I'm going to show you some of the new features, some things that you're going to need to know about the new program. Basically, just got a really good facelift and is now 60% faster. So we're going to go through Authentisign today. We're also going to show you some time-saving tips and techniques in TransactionDesk, some of the oohs and ahs, if you will, and then we'll get into the signing and what's changed. All right, so what's changed in the new Authentisign 2.0? One, the user interface, or what you're looking at when you're doing the signings, has completely changed. I think it's a great improvement in the fact that you don't have to open and expand those panels any longer. When you're in a hurry, you had to click that little drop down arrow and open up the contacts, open up the documents, open up the drawing tools. Everything is now easily located on one screen. You don't have to do those expanding. It's kind of opening right into the forms editor, which is a wonderful thing. It is 60% faster, as I mentioned before. Sometimes when you were loading documents, you would see, I hate to say it, but I called it the slow moving circle of death. You would be waiting for those documents to load. I'm happy to say that it's instantaneous now. It's 60% faster. Another thing on the documents, sometimes if you bring in a PDF, like if someone sent you an offer and you scanned it in, you brought it in, a lot of times they were a little grainy. They were very hard to counter in the system. And I'm going to show you how to do those counter offers today. But it was very hard to kind of get in and match the fonts because it was so grainy. Now that's been resolved. They're using high resolution documents, much easier to get the fonts to match, much easier to make those counter offers happen. Signers are able to go in and that complete button. I struggled with this several times. If a seller or buyer were signing documents on their phone, they would complete the signature blocks, but there was one more final complete. And sometimes that final complete was a little outside their view on a phone. And it was very hard for them. And many times they weren't completing the documents. That has been resolved. It's actually opening front and center to that screen. And so it actually formats to the size of the device. So if they're on a phone, it's formatting to the phone size. If they're on a tablet, it's formatting to the tablet size. So that's gotten better. The tools are, in my opinion, have been improved a lot. They're much easier to use now. There are some additional tools and functions that we're going to cover. One of my favorites is the feedback too. If you had an attorney in a deal, and let's say you made the attorney the reviewer, which means basically the attorney wasn't signing the documents, they were just receiving them, reviewing them before it went out to the client. If for any reason when the attorney went in, he has two options. They can accept or reject the documents. If they accept them, they obviously travel on to the client and the client can sign them. And it shows that the attorney reviewed them. However, if they previously rejected the documents, what would happen is it would basically stop the flow, notify you, the agent, that the documents were rejected. But now you had to pick up the phone each time and you had to wait for the attorney to call you back to find out what was wrong with the documents, right? So now if that happens with a signer or an attorney, they can actually leave feedback of why they're choosing not to sign the documents. So it saves me from having to pick up the phone, call the attorney, wait for the attorney to call me back, because I can see, oh, the closing date is wrong, or oh, the concession amount is wrong, or oh, we didn't have the trustee, and whatever it happens to be. The whole idea is now that the attorney can just say it right in the rejection notice why he's rejecting signing that document. So that's a huge improvement too. It saves a tremendous amount of time, especially if you're doing estates or power of attorneys, things like that. So what's new? The simple and clear interface now allows you to simply drag and drop like you did before, but you can actually save roles in here. And I really love this because if I am working on my purchase agreement with my buyer, not only can I tag it up and save that as a template, but I can save it as a role for all future buyers that I'm working with. We're going to cover that today, and I'm going to show you in detail how to do that. Meaning, every time you pull over an initial when you start to use this program, it puts the initial, the date, the name underneath. I didn't want all that. I just wanted the initials on my purchase agreement. So I'm going to show you how to customize it one time so that it works much better for you and your client. As I mentioned, it's faster, but it also will now format properly to whatever device that they're working on. That wizard has gone away, so everything's open and convenient. Here's kind of a little bit more of an example. Again, some of the enhancements are that, of course, they can use a pre-generated font to sign. They can, of course, draw with their fingertip, but they also now can upload their own digital signature. So I have an attorney who will only sign with his own signature that he has created. And there's some security behind that in his signature. So the good news is they can do any of those three options. They can go ahead and use the pre-generated font. They can draw it out with their fingertip, just kind of like you do at the grocery store when you're signing for your receipt. Or lastly, they can now upload their own digital signature. And here's a little bit of what that feedback looks like too. So if the attorney, as I mentioned, decides to reject the document, when he does, he can pull an idea from the dropdown, or he can simply go into the notes and leave detailed information of why he's not actually choosing to sign. All right, so the first part of this class today is really some time-saving tips and techniques. I know a lot of people say, you know what, Colleen, I thought I knew everything about TransactionDesk, and hopefully you do, but hopefully you'll pick up a couple time-saving tips and techniques today as we go through. We're going to play two roles today. The first role is we're going to play the agent side, and we're going to walk through writing a purchase agreement quickly. The second role is we're going to create a new listing and then obviously have our sellers and buyers sign them. First and foremost, I still talk to a lot of agents these days who tell me they're going into TransactionDesk to start their transactions, and they're having to fill out a ridiculous amount of information. When you actually create, especially from the purchase side, when you're creating your transaction, 90% of everything you need in your forms should be coming right over from the MLS for you. So let me give you an example. So I'm looking at a good friend of mine. I never have the fancy listings, so I always have to borrow the nice listings. My friend Tom Lipinski just listed this house over on Lakeshore. So we're going to use that as our example today. If I've just showed this property to my buyer, the last thing I want to do is go into TransactionDesk and re-enter all this information, the school district and the address and where Tom works. I don't want to put all that in my purchase agreement. I want to pull it right from the MLS. So the button we're looking for is kind of this blue splash, if you will. When you run your mouse over it, it's a start a transaction. And basically what I want to do is I want to pull all the information right from this MLS number right over into my contracts. Now, two key points here. Your first time-saving tip and technique is having your transaction template set up. That's huge. If you are a broker, one of the best things you can do is have your sales, lease, and listing packet already set up for your agents. You do not want your agents to have to go in and hunt and look for all the forms they need for every transaction. Now, if you're an agent and you just want to set up your own forms packet, that's great too. But the idea is the last thing I want to do is have to go find 20 forms that my company requires for a purchase. So all I want to do is I click the magic button. It's pulling 90% of the information in for me. Now I want to go down and either find my agent purchase package or my company purchase package. So I'm going to say that I'm going to use I happen to be with Keller Williams, so I'm going to use Keller Williams, my buyer packet. Once I select that buyer packet, next, I also just need to tell it, who am I in the transaction? So if I had listed that beautiful house, then I would obviously be representing both sides of the transaction. But because Tom, my friend, listed it, I'm of course going to be the selling agent. The hardest part for me of TransactionDesk when I first learned it, if you're brand new to TransactionDesk, is really just where do you start? Because you start in two different places depending on what you're trying to do. For instance, if you're on the buy side, you're always going to start from the MLS because it's a property you've shown, unless it's maybe a for sale by owner or something like that that's not in the MLS. Really, 90% of the time, you're going to be starting right from that transaction. We're going to click that easy button, and it's really going to do most everything for us. The difference is in where you start. If you're on the listing side, of course, then you want to pull from tax records. So that's really the hardest part, is really where do you start? On the buy side, you just saw me click the easy button, apply my buyer packet. I'm going to hit create, and that auto population is going to start to take place for me. Again, it's pulling in 90% of the information that I actually need to complete my offer to purchase and my transaction documents. Next, it's going to take you the first time, if you're new, into the wizard. Now, I'm going to be honest, I love the wizard for learning the program, but I certainly don't want to use the wizard every single time, right? I want to get it to where I can do everything from one convenient dashboard, and I'm going to show you how to do that today too. But let's take a look at what it's doing for us. So it's already pulling in things like the MLS number, the address, the city, the county, the subdivision, that lengthy legal description, pulling in the township, tax number. All of that is coming over for me. I don't have to fill any of that in. It's even filling out that $3 million list price right here. But here's a little time-saving tip. Think of this wizard as very generic. Whether you're on the listing side or the sales side, the wizard is generic. You're just really filling in your side of the information. So the one thing we would have to do, because there's no way to auto-populate from a buyer's head, we need to know what that buyer wants to offer. So we're going to say that we're going to offer Tom $2,800,000. If there's an EMD deposit, we can go ahead and add that in here. If there's a counter with an additional EMD, we can add that in. So all of these things we're basically just adding in. But here's your first real tip. If you're on this screen, and you can see right here, it's talking about the listing information, right? But here's a little tip for you if you're on the buy side. If you type in, let's say that my old friend Christine Kilpatrick's on our call, so we're going to use her. So we're going to say Christine is writing that she would also like to include the stove, the washer, the dryer, and those items. If you take the time to add them in the area that says property includes, they will auto-populate to all of your purchase side contracts asking for inclusions. If you've got, let's say, a hideously ugly play structure in the backyard, or an above ground pool that they want taken down, if you simply include that as the property excludes, if you put that here, all of the areas on your forms that call for inclusions or exclusions will be filled out for you. So that's a really great way to pull in more information. So basically, I click the easy button, I put in anything I want to include, and of course I want to add in my price. Next, the step 2 of your wizard is really just your dates. So I'm putting in my offer date, my offer, let's say expiration date, things like that. Now, we're going to kind of do this class right down the middle road, right? Some people are really advanced in technology. They use this all the time. And other people are just really getting started. They just want the basics and they want to know what's new in Authentisign. Totally fine. No matter what side of the road you're on, we're going to kind of just make this very easy. So if you are looking to just fill out your contract forms, then just filling in the transaction date is fantastic. That'll fill out all the dates on your transactions, nice and easy. But if you are an advanced user, and especially if you're on a team these days, you may want to kick it up a notch. You may actually want to go over and add in tasks or checklists. So let me kind of explain what that is. So we're adding in our date. We're going to say that we're adding in our offer date here, and that's great. Again, if you're just getting your feet wet in TransactionDesk or Authentisign and you just want to do the basics, that's really all you have to do on this step. But if you want to take it a step further and you want to automate reminders to you or your team, you can actually add tasks or checklists that will send email reminders to you, reminding you of items that are due or outstanding on a transaction. One that I do, and I have to be honest, I'm really bad about this. I always forget to order the final water read before closing. It's just, I get, all excited about the closing, you're reviewing the documents. A lot of times I forget to check and get that done. So I have set up an automated task that simply sends me a reminder 5 days before closing that that needs to be done. So let me show you how easy that is. If you go over to the right-hand side, there are checklists. Basically, think of a checklist as a series of tasks that you want to apply every single transaction. That's kind of what a checklist is. However, if you just want to set up a simple task, you're going to click on tasks. Go ahead and click that. I'm going to leave here to kind of show you what the tasks look like. And I'm going to go up to add a new task. Now, in my opinion, we're going to use a nice easy one today. We're going to use something like Christine just listed that $3 million home. We're going to do install a sign here. You could put a little description. But in my opinion, really, real estate is never due on a specific date, right? You're not going to install a sign every October 1st. No, we're going to do it related to the transaction. So you could relate your task to something being completed in the transaction. Like, let's say you had a home inspection and you want to make sure that you've now got the paperwork to the title company, or you've turned it into your office. Whatever it happens to be, you can relate it on the completion of a task. But really, in most of my tasks, I'm relating it to a transactional date. Let me show you. So if we're installing a sign, I want this task to send me a reminder 2 days after my listing paperwork or my list date has been turned in. Now, what I want to do is I want to have a reminder 1 day before that this is going to be due. And if you're on a team, let's say Christine Kilpatrick has a team of people, and one of those people are actually putting up signs for her. She can actually delegate that to her team, and you can set up your teams in here, by the way, but she can delegate that task to that team member so they get those automated email reminders of anything that's due. So again, you don't have to use this functionality. This is a little bit more advanced, but I love it if you're looking for a nice, easy way to streamline the task process, or especially if you have more people on your team that are maybe assisting you with items like installing your signs or lock boxes, things of that nature. Okay, so keep in mind, if you just want to put in the dates on step 2, totally fine. If you want to kick it up a notch and you want to put in tasks and checklists, that's great too. So really, step 2 is done. We're just putting in our dates. Step 3 is really your contacts. As you can see, the agent who listed the property is here. Their brokerage is here. I don't have to fill any of that out. I'm here, my brokerage is here. What's next? So obviously the next step is adding in our buyers and sellers and attorneys and our contacts that we're working with. If you miss this one crucial step, Authentisign 2.0 is going to take you a whole lot longer, and I promise you it's going to create a lot more work for you. So you always want to make sure that you're putting your contacts in on the transaction desk side, and the hardest part of that is really just telling it who that contact is. So if I click on the plus here, of course I could add myself, but we already did that for you. I could add another contact maybe I've worked with previously. You can add from your Google contacts. But really what I want to do is I want to create a new transaction contact. I basically want to create the role for this person. This is that really important point. If you follow this one simple step, I promise you it will save you at least 10 minutes in the new Authentisign 2.0, because it will pre-tag all of your forms where your buyers, sellers, agents are supposed to sign. It'll set it all up for you. So what you want to do is you want to, in the type, because we're working with a buyer on our side, we obviously want to put in the buyer's name. We want to associate that buyer to that role. So I'm going to say that we're adding in Barry Buyer. And of course, we want to put in Barry Buyer's email address that he'll be using to sign. All right, I'm just going to put in mine just so I can show you the signing process. That's really all you have to do if you're working with a traditional buyer. Now you're probably wondering, well, what are these 3 fields for? The legal name, preferred signature, and preferred initials are if you are working with a power of attorney, a trust, or possibly a corporation. If Barry Buyer is signing in a different way, or his name is going to be listed underneath the signature line in a different way than Barry Buyer, that's what these 3 fields are for. So if Barry Buyer, we're going to pretend that Barry Buyer is the POA for Sally Smith. If I want that to be pre-printed underneath the signature line, then that's how I would write that out. So this is only going to be used if you have a scenario where the buyer is signing in a case of a corporation, power of attorney, or a trust. That's when you would use these lines. Preferred signature is just how does he want it signed. I recently had an attorney who not only wanted it underneath the signature line, But he also wanted them to sign Barry Buyer, power of attorney for Sally Smith, power of attorney dated, and he actually wanted them to sign with when it was dated. So again, these are all options. Really, you're only going to use those if you have those unique scenarios. Most of the time, you're going to put in Barry Buyer, his email address, hit save, and immediately that buyer contact has been created. Of course, if it's a husband and wife, you will need to enter the husband and then the wife, or wife and then husband, however. The reason is obviously they're both going to have their own signature lines. Okay, so pretty simple. Step 3, done. Moving on to step 4. Now, because I applied my form packet, you can see every form that my company requires is already dropped in place for me. This is a huge time saver. That's why I said set up your packets. I'm going to show you how to do that today. The other thing is, if you have a form that you need that is not in your packet, all you have to do is click on Add, and you can add it in. Now, I'll also be honest that there is a ridiculous amount of forms available to you. I think there's over 5,000 forms within all of these different libraries, and who the heck is going to go in and try to find their form, right? So if you just sold a house, good example, that has a pool, and you're looking for a swimming pool addendum, you can simply go to this search box right here, start typing the word pool, and immediately all the pool forms available to you pop right up. Now all you have to do is check it off and add it in. So the key piece is really having your packets already assembled, and then going in and adding in any additional form that you may need. Again, you're going to click on Add. You're going to go to that search box the easiest way. Type in something like FHA. As soon as I do that, that of course is going to bring up, and you can see it's very quick, any form that has FHA listed in it so that I can choose the form I'm looking for. All right, pretty simple. Now, another tricky point for me when I started using TransactionDesk was forms and documents, because 22 years ago when I got my license, a form was considered a document and a document was considered a form. However, TransactionDesk is a little bit different. Forms are any pre-filled out forms that TransactionDesk has set up for you. And that's the step that we're looking at right now. However, if you go to the next step, it says documents. So what the heck is different? Documents are any outside form, pre-title, copy of your home warranty form maybe, maybe a copy of your EMD, anything outside what Instanet has prepared for you that you want to have in your transaction. Okay, so that's really the difference, is these forms on step 4 are made for you. You just fill in the blanks. The other ones are things that you may choose to bring into your transaction that are not already prepared in the system. One of the great enhancements that they've added is you now can drag and drop those forms into place. So for me, I have a little OCD, so anybody who's ever come to my house, I have the same color towel folded the same way in my linen closet. So I like my forms in a very particular order. I always like my agency on top, and I like them in a very specific order. So you can, of course, build your template so they're always that way, or you can simply drag and drop those forms into the order that you want. Okay. If you wanted to do a form preview, if you wanted to see, is this the form I'm thinking of? Is that the one I wanted to use? You can always go to the menu dots to the right. You can click on preview, and you can take a look at that form to ensure, yep, that's the one I was looking for. Okay, so pretty self-explanatory. If I jump over to the document section, this is where we would be bringing in an offer that maybe we wanted to counter. So let's say I'm sending Tom an offer. When he gets that offer and he wants to counter it, he's going to pull it into his document section. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. But one of the things that Brian, who I love, he is our Chief Technical Officer, he wanted to make working the transaction even easier. So what he did, and I'll kind of show it to you because I'm kind of a visual person. Before, when you were ready to work with your buyer, you had to go back in to get the disclosures, right? You had to go back to Paragon. You had to go back to the associated docs. You had to click on each disclosure. You had to save it to your computer. Now you had to pull it back in. That was a lot of steps, right? Because you want your buyer to sign the purchase agreement and the disclosures all at the same time. You don't want to send them 4 different emails, right? You want to send one email and have everything signed. So what Brian figured out a great way to do was to pull those disclosures right into the transaction for you. So that means when I do that one-click transaction, when I'm in Paragon, I click on that that little blue splash where we started today, it not only pulls all the information, but it pulls out the filled out seller's disclosures and lead-based paints for that property too, and it puts them right in your file. So if I wanted to see that seller's disclosure, instead of going all the way back, logging back into Paragon, all I have to do is be in the transaction and click on it. Now I can send this over to my buyer to sign with all the other paperwork. Things like there's a survey attached, whatever the agent puts into Associated Docs, it's going to conveniently show up right here for you to use. So that way you can send everything out in one email. It also creates a fax back cover sheet. Now, I'm going to be honest, really nobody faxes things anymore, I don't think, but there is a really cool thing you can do with this, and I do it for my closing packages. Every time you create a transaction, there is a bar-coded fax cover sheet that appears. And this allows you to either email or fax directly into a transaction. Now, as I mentioned, nobody really faxes anymore, but if you've got that big, ugly closing package, you know, those big packages that sometimes they still give you the paper ones, well, if you've got that, what I do is I print off this cover sheet and I either email it or fax it right into the transaction. That way it automatically goes directly into, as you can see, it's barcoded to 205 Lakeshore, goes right into the transaction for me. It sends me an email when it's complete with a link so I can actually see that it's put into that transaction. Now I mark the transaction closed and my file is done. That way I have everything I need. I just had a client call me to come and list their home. They bought it with me 2 years ago. So I could just go back into my file, see what they paid, see all their signed docs. Everything's in one easy, convenient place. All right. So the question is, what happens if you need to do a counter offer? How do you get the counter offer in here? Because we've moved some of the important documents in, but let's face it, if you want to do a counter offer, you got to be able to bring that document in. And usually it's either dropped off at your office or it's emailed to you. So how do you bring it in? Well, the best way to bring in that counter offer, to mark it up and make those changes so it looks nice and clean, you're going to click on the add button. And it's a simple drag and drop. So let's say Christine Kilpatrick just dropped off an offer at my office. I would, of course, scan it, or maybe she emailed it to me. I would scan it into my email. I would then grab that offer, and I would simply lay it on this drag and drop strip. As soon as you do that, it's going to load that document, which is right here, right at the bottom of my list. Now I can go in and make those changes. I can mark it up and make changes to it. By the way, you can add up to 20 files at one time. So if you've created, let's say, a listing file folder on your desktop and you want to drag all those documents in, you can grab up to 20 at once, simply drag and drop them onto that blue strip and they will load. Now, if you don't like the drag and drop, I had a lady say, well, what if it's just saved on my desktop? I just want to pull it in from the desktop. That's great. You can do that too. Just click on that blue strip. It will open up your basically the drives on your computer, and you can choose what documents you want to add. So if that's a little bit easier for you, absolutely, you can go right in and do that. All you're going to do is, let's see, I think I got some stuff in my class. You're going to pick which ones you want to add in. So I'm going to say I want to add these 2 in. I'm going to go ahead and hit open. You can see immediately those are added in for me, and they're now dragged into my documents section. Now, so now you've got the offer there. How do you mark it up? Now, I don't have an offer to purchase right here, so I'm just going to jump back to my offer to purchase to kind of show you. But I'm going to go to my purchase agreement, and I'm going to do a quick preview here. Now I want to mark the document up. So let's say that I'm doing this offer with Christine Kilpatrick. I love her price, but I want to strike off that we're going to leave the washer and dryer and stove. Okay, we're going to make that change. So we're going to go up to this painter's palette here at the top where it says markup tool. And we're now, I'm going to blow it up a little so we can see what we're doing here. We're now going to make those changes. We're going to make this counter offer. So I'm going to go up to, the first thing I want to do is I want to cross off, okay, we're not going to leave these items. And of course, at my brokerage, we would just have to have everyone initial that change, so everyone in the transaction. However, I was just really scolded the other day, so I want to be careful here. I know some associations do not allow that. So I know we have a couple people on this call from different associations. Please see your association or your brokerage on counteroffer policies. I did sort of get chastised a little bit because there's an association that we vendor that does not allow any marking up of documents. Everything has to be done on a separate addendum. So if that's you, that's great. Just see your broker on what your policy is for making these changes. For me, at my brokerage, this is what our policy is. So I'm just going to kind of highlight that. As I scroll through here too, scroll down. So now I'm looking at the price, right? So we've got, we've got the change to that we're not going to leave the washer and dryer, but let's say Christine is saying, you know what, we need at least $3 million for this property. God, I wish I could get in that price range, but I'm going to go up to the text box here. And what I want to do is I now want to counter that. I don't just want to cross it off. I want to change the price. So I'm going to draw my text box. And by the way, you see that these things auto-populated, like the appliances we asked for, things not included, the pool, those things are already auto-populating. So what I want to do now, though, is I want to go in and I want to put in my counteroffer price. So Christine says we're not selling it for a penny less than the $3 million we're asking for. So I'm going to put my $3 million here, but watch what happens when I do that. So I basically created the counteroffer. But if I laid it on top, man, that looks terrible. And for someone like me with OCD, that would drive me bananas. So I'm going to have to fix that up a little. What we're going to do is we're going to obviously shorten our box a little bit. That's going to help a little bit. But we're going to change it from a transparent background to a nice white clean background so we don't see the numbers behind it. We're also going to bring down our font size to probably 11, I'm going to guess, maybe even smaller. We're going to do a 9-point font here. And we can change it obviously from bold or italicize it. Now when I lay this on here and I adjust the size of my box, do you see how much cleaner and more precise that looks? So now I don't have all that messiness behind, and obviously you can, for the sake of time, I'm just going to make it fit there. So I would obviously put it right on the line, but you can actually expand the box, expand the font size, and that way it doesn't look messy. It's a lot better than just that clear background where you're laying information on top. So if you need to change your offer that you've written, that's a really easy way to do it. Just do that, drag and drop, and then put it right on top of that area. So you've got a nice clean contract. Of course, you can still highlight. If you wanted to point out you got them a 1-year home warranty, something like that, all of those tools are right here at the top. If you're old-fashioned like I am, getting your license 22 years ago, and you want to make sure that every line, I was always taught by Marge Fraser, every line should have something in it so it looks completely filled out. That's, of course, what the redact is for, too. So it does look like that every line has been addressed. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Pretty easy to counter. One of my favorite features in here, though, is a feature that I don't think a lot of people know is here, and I use it a lot on the app. By the way, Transaction Desk does have an app. If you go to the App Store and you type in Transaction Desk, has to be one word, by the way. There is a great app that you can put on your phone that you can do this next tool with, and I love. A lot of times I'm teaching for associations, so I'm on the road. And many times I will send a buyer out all of the documents to sign at once. So I'll send out the purchase agreement, the disclosures, along with his buyer's agency, which at my company has their phone number, their address, and some information that's confidential between me and the buyer. The problem is once the buyer signs everything, I'm really excited to get it over, especially in this market, over to that listing agent, right? But I don't want that listing agent to have my buyer's phone number and address and information, what they were looking for, and what they were willing to spend on their buyer's agency, right? I basically want to cut that page off. But how do I do that if I'm in the car without running back to the office, rescanning everything, printing it, pulling out the documents? I've got one big signed PDF, right? So how do I take that and eliminate that particular page or document so that the listing agent doesn't see it. That's called the document slicer, and you'll find it in several different places in TransactionDesk, but it kind of looks the same. It's one page with 2 pages ripped out. If I wanted to take this document and I wanted to slice a particular form or page off, I would simply click on the document slicer tool. It's asking me, do I want to save my changes? I'm going to say yes. But basically, what I want to do is I want to take this 7-page PDF that you see here, and I want to only send the listing agent. We're going to pretend the last 2 pages is the agency agreement between me and my buyer. I, of course, want to send Christine, that listing agent, just those first 5 pages now. So I'm going to highlight those 5 pages. I'm going to click on Save. I'm going to do a Save As, and I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call this Counter for Christine Kilpatrick. All right, so I have now saved just the pages. I always like to keep my original intact, so I always do a save as because I don't want to mess up my original. I like the full package of the way it was, so I can, especially if you're countering several times, you can see the history. And I'm just going to say I want to take those 7 pages down to the 5 that I want to email over to Christine now. Basically, I'm reducing it down to just the 5, as you can see, and I'm going to send her those. So really, really easy, especially if you're in the car and you don't have time to run to the office and slice pages out. That's a really great way to slice documents up. Anything, of course, you make changes to, that's always going to appear in your documents section. So as you can see, my counter offer for Christine Kilpatrick is right here. All right, so hopefully that made sense. Now you're probably thinking, lady with the fuzzy hair, you just showed us all these steps. You're right, I'm kind of expanding on it. Really, if you think about what we've done up to now, we've clicked the easy button, we put in our buyer's name, the price that he wanted to pay, any inclusions, and we made sure all the forms we need are here. But now what I like to do is I like to go back in and I obviously want to start reviewing those forms. So that's really the forms section. So I'm going to click into our form. This is where we're going to start seeing our editor, if you will. You can see that the dates, the address, all of that information is already starting to auto-populate. If I want to now jump over to my purchase agreement here, I'm going to click on the purchase agreement. 90% of everything that I needed should be coming over. And as you can see, that the MLS number, the listing brokerages, the selling brokerages, the agents, the agent ID, all of that stuff is auto-populating right now for us. And I just need to go in and tweak anything additional. My washer, my dryer, my stove is there. My pool, is under exclusion. So anything additional that I need to fill in, I can do that right now through my editor. But obviously, if you take the time to completely fill out in the wizard the most information, a lot of those other fields that I didn't take the time to fill out because of our time constraints today, but a lot of this will already be filled out for you. Like mortgage, what kind of mortgage are they buying? That's all in the wizard. So my tip is really fill out as much as you can in the wizard because it will fill out the majority of your form for you. Of course, under File, you can save forms, grab new forms, erase an entire form very quickly, watermark a form with draft if it's like you just want to send it over to the buyer so they know what an offer looks like. You can remove a form, print forms from here, can obviously send them via email, mark them up, all of that from here. A couple other things that I like to show people because I think it's helped me a lot. Every once in a while, I'll get the language down just perfect. Like I'm doing an addendum and I'm asking for concessions and I'm thinking, oh my God, that sounds really good. I have this. Then the next time I pull up the same general addendum and I'm like, oh man, yeah, I just can't make this sound right. Have you been there? You know what I'm talking about? So if that's the case, what I recommend is using clauses. And by the way, brokers, this is a great way to reduce some of your risk or perform some risk mitigation. If agents are filling out general addendums with their own legal language, and my broker always says, Colleen, you're not an attorney, just fill out, use what I've already set up for you. And what that is the broker can set up legal language that's really predetermined by him. And I love this. So if I go up to clauses, let's say I'm filling out my general addendum, And of course, offices can do this. I'm just going to use some that I created for our class today. But let's say that my broker has certain ways that he wants the home inspection language to be worded. He can even create file folders so I can quickly find the language for that item. But we'll use the buyer has 7 to 10 days to complete their home inspection, or we'll do something like our home warranty is not to exceed $400, or the concession. You get the idea, right? I'm just going to use a couple very quickly just for the sake of our example here. All I'm really doing is I'm picking the legal language that my broker has set up or that I have set up so that I can quickly insert that without having to try to retype it every single time. Now I can just go into that language and I can say, okay, we're going to say that not to exceed $3,000 here. So I can actually use what's already predetermined. I just find that that's a lot easier than starting from scratch every single time. And of course, to bounce around forms, you're just going to go ahead and click into that transaction form, click on the form you're looking for, and it will open that form up for editing. All right, so that is it. That is the whole purchase side enchilada. Basically, when you are ready to create a purchase, the hardest part is really starting in the MLS. It's really starting in the MLS here, finding that particular icon and pulling all the data over. But as I mentioned, really the difference in a purchase side and a listing side is just where to start. If I am going in on the purchase side, the agent has filled all the information in for me to pull. But if I am creating the new listing, I don't want to trust that the previous agent did their job and put everything in correctly. I actually want to pull that from the tax records. But there is a trick to that, so let me show you. All right, so now we're going to flip hats, right? We're not on the purchase side. We're going to be working with a seller. So we're going to go into resources. We are going to go into our online forms and select TransactionDesk, because we're going to start with our listing packet and we want to pull from the tax records on this one. Now, a lot of people say, Colleen, I tried this, it doesn't work for me, and that's because there's a trick. So I apologize that there's a trick, but tax records are very exact, so you got to follow this simple rule. So I'm in TransactionDesk. I'm going to go to this little house icon, which is going to show me all of my transactions. And of course, I now want to go in, I want to add a new listing. So I'm going to click on the add button. I'm going to give our listing a name. We're going to call it 41539 Wessel Drive. Now here's the tip or trick, and some people like to put the name after. That's totally fine. You don't just want to name it Bob Smith though, and here's why. If Bob Smith buys more than one house from you, now you're scrambling to figure out, well, which Bob Smith am I looking for? So I always recommend if you want to put the name, that's great. Just use the address first, so it's a little bit easier. Of course, I want to apply my listing packet. It already knows I'm the listing agent because I just applied the listing packet, right? But here's the tricky part. When you want to import from tax records, and by the way, we just now, you're one of the first classes to know this, we have signed the entire state with RealList. So that means you can create a listing in any county. We have all of Michigan now. So you can pull, if you're listing Grandma's Cottage up in Emmett, you can still pull that information into your transaction. So here's how it works. If you go to import, we don't want to import from just the MLS. We want to import from the tax records in RealList. So we're going to click on RealList. Now, when Brian first released this, he was so proud. He's like, okay, Colleen, it's a one-click transaction. You can just now type in the tax ID. And I had this blank stare for a minute, and I said, Brian, we don't memorize tax IDs. We know the address. And he's like, oh, okay, well, so why would I want to go into a whole nother program to get the tax ID, right? That wouldn't make any sense. What I want to do is I want to go right over to this magnifier right here. This is where I want to do the little trick I'm going to show you. Tax records are so exact, if you put in too much information, it never works. What you do need to put in is county, because that is always easy from the drop down, it's always exact. I I also want to put in the street number. And by the way, the street number and street name are separated. People get a little confused by that, but you're just going to put in the street number. Now, here's the trick. You do not want to put in anything else except the root street name. Okay, so the city, the zip, the tax, leave all of that blank. Last name, leave it blank. Because here's what happens. Tax records are so specific. If you put in township and it's TW period at the tax record office, the problem is it won't pull. So here's what you do. You put in the county, street number, and the root street name only. And what I mean by that is this is actually Wessel Drive. But if I put in Wessel Drive here, I promise you it will error because I may not have it exactly as the municipality does. So I just want to put in Wessel. Leave off the drives, the ways, the places, leave all of those off. Circles, courts, just put in the root. Now search for your tax data and it will come right up for you. Once you have it selected, it's going to start pulling in not only the property information, but the owners of record. So if there's multiple owners on the property, that's going to carry over too. So what you're going to see is it's now filling all of that information into our wizard. That auto population is taking place, but it's doing a couple other things for Authentisign 2.0 for us too. So of course we see our street, our address, our city, our township, legal description, all that's great. But when we bounce over to step 3 here, what we also see is the seller of record is coming over and it's labeled it seller. So it knows exactly where the tag should go on all the listing documents where our seller needs to sign. All right, 2 more quick important things before we jump into Authentisign. One of the things that I like about Authentisign, or about Instanet, I'm sorry, is that you can actually send your seller's disclosures ahead so your clients can fill them out. Why this is important is so many times I'll go on my listing appointment, right? And whether it's your seller's disclosure or your lead-based paint disclosure, you're sitting down with that client, of course, and you're, going over all the paperwork. Now I usually go measure the rooms and I push the disclosure in front of them. It's kind of an overwhelming form, right? Half of the time they don't see the not available. They start filling it out. They got 9 unknowns, right? And they're like, oh, now you got all these scratches off. They're trying to find their home warranty for their roof. They're looking through all that information and it just takes them forever to fill this form out. Meanwhile, I want to be home with my son cooking dinner and I'm still waiting for them. I've now measured the rooms twice and they're only halfway through this form. So here's a little tip. Send this form ahead. 1, it gives you a chance to look it over to better know what you're walking into when you go into your listing appointment. And 2, you don't have to wait an hour for them to fill it out or come back the next day and pick it up, right? So what you do is you can go up to File and Send. And all you're going to do is you're going to send this out in a nice, easy format to your seller. I only recommend doing this with the seller's disclosure, by the way. Everything else we're really going to send all filled out. But of course, this is a form the agent, well, this is a form an agent is never supposed to fill out. Hopefully you're not filling them out. This is obviously what you want your seller to be filling out on their own. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in my Sally seller name. Of course, I'm going to put in their email address. I'm just going to put in mine for the sake of time. The other day I was so embarrassed. I spelled my name wrong in my email. So waiting and waiting for the email to come did not come. So try to not fat finger that this time. Of course, you can put in your own subject line, like looking forward to seeing you at our listing appointment, whatever you want it to be. You can put in a message. But here's where it differs than anything else. Any other form that I'm sending as a locked attachment, okay? So I'm sending it in a way that I filled the form out. I don't want them changing things on it. But this particular form, I want them to fill out. So I'm gonna allow them to fill it out and I'm gonna send it as a live link. And I'm even gonna say, okay, our listing appointment is Sunday, so I wanna make sure I have it by Saturday. And then send. What this is doing is it's sending it in an open format right to their email address so that they can actually fill it out. That's really what it's doing. So they'll be able to fill it out just like you could as the agent, but we're never supposed to do that. I caveat that because every time I say that, an agent will say, hey, by the way, did you know I do that for my clients? Don't do that. That's very bad. All right. So Now I'm going to open up my email real quick because I want to show you what your client actually gets. Because a lot of people, and I worried about this too, is it going to be easy for them? You know, they don't know Transaction Desk. They're not taking this class. What's it going to look like for them? So I'm going to open up my email address real quick. And I am going to open up. So here it is. It says, it comes from you, by the way. Your clients have no idea, right, who Authentisign is or who Transaction Desk is. They just know you as their trusted agent. So when it comes to them, it comes from you and your email address, comes from Colleen Delange, the agent. It's going to give them some basic information. It's going to give them your contact information down below in case you have any questions. And all you have to do is click on the seller's disclosure. All they have to do to sign it is click on it. It's going to open it in a very simple viewer for them. It's not going to give them all those bells and whistles. It's just going to give them the option to fill it out. If, by the way, if they make a mistake, the nice thing here is they can uncheck it and recheck it. They can fill out any of the fields. And the hardest part for them is just to go in and hit save. As soon as they save it, you will get a notification as the agent that they've completed the form, and it's now right back in your Transaction Desk file. So it's very, very simple. And they can also, of course, print it out if they want a copy for themselves. But really, as you can see at the bottom, I just got the notification as the agent that Sally Seller has opened and saved the form. So really, it's a nice, easy way to have them fill this out ahead of time. The last thing I want to show you on the Transaction Desk side, though, is the push. And a lot of people don't know this is here as well. So what I'm talking about when I say the push is if you're on the listing side, and you're going in and you're filling out your data form, the last thing I want to do is turn my data form over to my office admin and have them, re-enter all those fields that I just filled into my data form. Plus, I have to also wait until she's done putting all the other listings in that have been turned in. So here's another little tip. If you go in and you fill out the data sheet form and you fill in all the read or required information, there's a button at the top called Upload Listing. What this does is when you click that button, it basically sends the listing information over to Paragon and creates a partial listing for you. By the way, your admins can also go in and complete the partial too. So instead of having my admin now recreate all of those fields in Paragon, she can actually go in. She can see all of the office listings. So if your admin is the one who has to push the button to make the listing live, that's fine. She's just going to go in, find your partial, open it up, hopefully add in your photos ahead of time, and then save the listing, and it will be live in the MLS now. So again, if you are looking for a faster way, fill out your data sheet right here, fill in all the required, hit that upload listing, and it will create your partial listing for you right within Paragon. All right, we'll jump right into what you need to know about the new Authentisign 2.0 then.
Wait a minute, Robert Stocky just added in, I have a question.
I love
Robert, question.
All right. I can try to unmute his line if it's easier to ask the question, or you can type them in. It's just totally up to you.
Redo. Okay, how to get the disclosures.
Okay.
That is the cool. And don't forget the cheat sheet on how to do that is loaded up in the webinar, and they're also in Paragon under at the very, very top. It's called MLS Documents, and it's a link up there, and you'll find my education folder. Sorry, yeah, sending it to your client, and I think Colleen's going to do that for you now.
I'll do that right now. So the two parts, I just want to make sure I have what you're asking, Robert, so I'm covering the right thing. On the buy side, we'll automatically migrate those disclosures over for you, but I think you're referring to what I kind of covered as far as actually sending the disclosures to the client to fill out. For the sending side, for your client to fill out, what I would recommend is just open up your transaction, find your seller's disclosure document that you're going to send. And of course, you want to send this in an editable format for them to fill out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to File. We're going to go to Send. We're, of course, going to send it via email. We want to make it nice and streamlined and easy for them. We're, of course, just going to send our seller's disclosure because everything else we're filling out in a locked document. Now we're going to put in our client's name. So in this case, it would be Sally Seller. Ooh, helps if I spell her name right. We're going to put in her email address. We're going to put in any message or subject line we want to add in. So appointment tonight, whatever you want to call it. And then we're going to send it as a link, and we're going to allow them to fill out that form. We're also going to put an expiration date. If we're going to list it on Saturday, we don't want to get it on Sunday, right? So we're going to put in when we want it to be received and filled out by, and then send. As long as you're sending it as a link and is allowing them to edit it when they get it. So I'm going to bounce back to my email again here. It's going to be coming from you, the agent. You will get that notification of when they have filled that information out. As you can see, it was opened and saved by Sally, my seller, and it will be coming from you for them to fill out. They simply, as you can see here, they're simply getting it from you. They're clicking on that seller's disclosure statement. It does have all of your contact information in case they have a question. And then they're literally going in and selecting or deselecting, and then they can type right into any of the fields. You're basically opening up, and you can see it's a nice streamlined version. They don't have all the bells and whistles. They get a save and a print. So if they want to print it out, they can do that. But really, as soon as they save that, that's the key. As soon as they save it, it's going to notify you, the agent, that the document has been opened and saved, and it will now be already in your TransactionDesk file. So if you're sending all the documents out to be signed, you can include this one in those signed documents, or print them and take them to be signed on your listing appointment, whichever you do. And as you can see, I got the notification as the agent again right down here. So hopefully that was what you were asking, Robert. Let me know if you had any questions, or if you were talking about on the buy side. It's a little bit different on the buy side.
Oh, he had asked about the sell side. Thank you, Colleen.
Perfect. All right. So now let's get into probably what I would say most of our audience is here for, and that's, again, the changes in the new Authentisign 2.0. Now, originally, we were going to sunset the old in November, meaning that the classic version of Authentisign was going to be going away in November. However, they originally slated it right around Thanksgiving, which is the worst possible time to pull a program that you're familiar with, right? When we're all in a hurry and, eating our turkey and we want to get a simple addendum out, that's not the time you want to find that your program you know and love is gone. So we are now extending that out until January. So you right now can bounce back and forth from the classic to the new. So meaning if you're in a hurry and you don't have time to figure it out and you need to bounce back to the classic version, you can do that. And everything will be just as it was before. But I do recommend not waiting till the last minute. Make sure that you go in and you start getting familiar with the new Authentisign 2.0, because it does look quite substantially different. You don't want to be in a hurry and trying to get an addendum out and you can't figure it out. All right, so what do you do to get started? Well, on the left-hand side of your screen, there is the pen icon. You'll see it located in various spots in TransactionDesk too. But really, all I want to do is I want to go and click on the Add button. And the hardest part of Authentisign, whether it's the Classic or the 2.0, is just finding the contact that you want to marry it to what you want to send. So basically finding the file that you want to dump everything back in when it's signed. That's the hardest spot. I talk to so many people all the time who tell me, I just wish it would go right back into the transaction. Well, it does if you do this one simple step. So where it says optional, I want you to think of this as not optional. I want you to think you always want to marry the file with the documents that you're sending. So if I'm sending my documents to Lakeshore here, I simply want to name, so I'm going to go where it says signing name here. I want to name my file 205 Lakeshore Purchase Agreement, but I want to marry it to the file it's going to go back in. Oops, make sure. So I want to go in, type in, and maybe I want to call this the PA or purchase documents, whatever you want to call it. I want to marry it to the file it's going to be deposited back in. So because I'm doing that, 90% of everything in 2.0 is done for you as long as you follow that simple step. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit save. You'll notice that the new look, everything is open. There's nothing you have to actually expand. It's basically located all to the right side of your screen. The first thing is, who are you sending it to? When you click on the add to participants, you could do it yourself, but we already did that for you. You could pull from your contacts, but really what we want to do is we filled all the documents out in TransactionDesk, so we already have done all of this work. As soon as I click on add from your transaction contacts, it already sees who the buyer was, who I am, and who the listing agent is. So I'm going to say I want to send this to my buyer, and I'm going to witness my contract too. The next question it's asking over here is how are they signing? And this kind of confuses people what this actually means. So let me kind of cover it. There are 3 ways to send things for signature. Remote signer just means they're getting it in an email and they're signing it with their fingertip, whether it's on their phone, on their tablet, on their computer, doesn't matter. That reviewer role is really for attorneys. However, I just had a situation where it was a 21-year-old girl, her first purchase of a home. She was really excited and she said to me, hey, can you just send everything to my dad? He's bought like 5 houses and just send it to him and he can sign it for me. And I said, well, no, we can't really do that in Authentisign because we have to track that it went to you. What we can do is we can make dad a reviewer. Dad can go in and acknowledge that he reviewed and accepted the documents. Once he does so, it's going to send it to you and you're going to see that he did that, and then you can feel comfortable about signing it. So she was very comfortable with that. So that reviewer role is just someone who's looking them over ahead. They're not signing them, they're just accepting or rejecting that they've reviewed the documents. Then lastly, this is where people get a little confused, is the CC role. This is very different than CCing someone on an email. What this means is if you are working with a particular title company or you're working with a particular lender, what happens on the CC role is if everything is signed by all the parties that you've set up, it will automatically send it to that title company or that lender, whoever you set up, with the executed docs and a personal message from you. But let's face it, the title company doesn't want that information unless you have an actual deal, right? So it only sends it if everybody you've selected has set it up and they've signed it. So that means that the title company doesn't have to be involved unless it's an executed document. So that's really what the CC role is. We're going to walk through that scenario too. But in this case, I've got it going to myself and to witness, and I've got it going to my buyer. Now, if you are just working your side of the transaction, that's totally great. But if you wanted it to automatically go to our friend Tom Lipinski over here so that he could sign it, well, I certainly don't want to send it to Tom before my buyer has signed the offer, right? I would look a little silly. So in that case, if you are including the co-oping agent, you want to make sure you are putting them in the order of real estate or the signing order that you see here at the top. So you're probably thinking, well, what exactly does that mean? Well, what that means is I want to drag and drop the order so it goes to Barry, my buyer. Then I like it to go to me so I can make sure I didn't miss anything, any I's dotted and T's are all crossed before I witness it. And then I want it to go to Tom, the agent, because now it's a fully executed document, right? So you can drag and drop these into the order you want. Now, there's also something a little bit more advanced. I don't use it very often, but I do want to tell you it's here in case you ever have a chance to use it. There's something called the private participant role, too, where I can actually have my buyer sign it. I can witness. It can then go to the listing agent, but instead of the listing agent starting the process all over, I can actually make him a private participant, and he can put his contacts in, his seller's name and email address, and they can go ahead and sign it if he's reviewed it and he likes it. Now, I generally don't do that, I'm going to be honest, because there's usually a counteroffer that's involved. However, if you wanted to set it up so that Tom could automatically just add his clients in and they could complete the signing, that's the private participant role. So it's a little more detailed. I don't use it very often because, again, usually there is a counteroffer, but that is available. You can always go in and add that particular person. Okay, if you've messed up and you added them, you didn't mean to, you can always remove them in that step too. So you want to set that signing order, but only really if you are adding in the other side of the deal or the other agent. And then, of course, your documents. We already filled all those documents out. So the last thing we want to do is go have to upload them, right? So we're just going to click, I want to add my documents. I'm now going to see all of the documents. So remember how I said it didn't matter if they were documents or forms, if it's a seller's disclosure, if it's the purchase agreement, doesn't really matter. I can go right through this list right here, and I can add in any documents that I want the client to sign. Now, somebody asked me a couple good questions about this the other day, so I thought they were really good, so I'm going to bring them up. If you are adding in these transaction documents, and let's say you remembered, oh, I want to add my brochure for my home warranty in too. That's what this upload is for. If you didn't add it in the transaction desk side, but you still want to send it out in your Authentisign envelope, if you will, you can click on upload and you can simply drag and drop that particular home warranty brochure, whatever it happens to be. You can simply drag and drop it onto there, or again, you can just pull it in as you saw me do here. Add a document. So again, you can pull from your document list all the documents you created in TransactionDesk. You could upload a home warranty form or maybe a copy of your EMD, whatever you wanted to do. However, this third option for a long time, I did not understand what this was for. And then I had a recent scenario where it made total sense to me. So basically, I wrote an offer on 123 Main Street. We went to inspection, and unfortunately, we had a really bad inspection, and they decided not to go forward with the purchase of the home. I took them out the next day. We found them something even better. They loved it, but now really everything I needed, their pre-approval, their buyer's agency form they already filled out. I'm not going to have them fill that out again, right? Because that stuff is really the same. But at the same time, I don't want to go back in and delete my old transaction or rename it something else. For the history, I like to always keep even deals that don't close. I like to keep them so I can see exactly what happened in that transaction. So that's what the My Files is for. If you have a transaction that died and you want to go in and maybe pull over particular parts like the pre-approval or the copy of the EMD or something specific to the other transaction, you can simply make a copy of it. So my exclusive buyer agency or whatever it happens to be, I can copy it into this file without having to start or print it or scan it in again. I can simply pull it in. All right, and then all I have to do really is move these forms in the order I want them to be in, and then I can start applying the tags, which is the tools. So I know Barry Buyer is, of course, going to initial at the bottom of the form. Really that easy. Now, if you have a purchase agreement like this one, especially if you have like a husband and wife or two buyers, moving each one of those tags onto the form would be very cumbersome because every single page of my purchase agreement, they actually initial. So what I just do is I go to the initial pages box, pick the size. Now right here, I can see the purchaser is going to initial at the bottom right hand of the document, okay? Who's going to initial? Well, the purchaser. If it's a husband and wife, I would check both of them. And it's only going to be for my purchase agreement. And I can even choose specific pages. I think it's like Century 21, if I remember, that has them initial only every other page. If that's the case, you could have them do just page 3, 5, and 7, if that's how yours is. Mine happens to be everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and have them initial. And what you're going to notice is it now places the initials for the buyer on every single page. And it's a whole lot easier to simply move them then to click on the person, drag over the box, change the person, drag over the box. They'll all just be here and I can move them into the right order. There's also another really cool thing that's added that I don't think a lot of people use, and so I want to highlight. If you are giving your clients an option, whether or not they want to include something like a home protection plan, if you put an optional yes and no, guess what would happen? They'd pick yes and no because they don't really know these forms like we do, right? So I simply want to give them a choice. So I actually use the radio buttons, which only allows them to choose one option. They can either choose yes or no. If they choose yes, it grays out the no. If they choose no, it grays out the yes. So you can actually add even options or radio buttons so they can only choose one. You can also add drop downs. So you can customize what would be in the drop down. So I could put in 2 or 3 things for them to choose. Yes, I would like a home warranty. No, I wouldn't like a home warranty. So you've got those options as well. But pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to jump to the last page here for Barry Buyer's signature. And of course, I'm going to change the person to me so I can now go in and witness. Okay, so pretty self-explanatory. The one thing I did find a little tricky here, and I did not like it, it really, when I first used the new program, I was like, this is the stupidest thing in the whole wide world. I was very frustrated. And then someone pointed out, well, you can change it and make it your own, Colleen. So when I went to grab the initial tab, now on my contracts where we initial, generally we're just initialing. So let me go back up here. Let me show you what I mean. So right here, really the initial box is just initialing, but when I clicked on it, oh, made me absolutely crazy. It had the name block, the timestamp, the date stamp, everything showing up with the initial. Well, that makes a messy contract to me. I didn't want all of that. So if you click on the tab itself, if you only want it to have the initial, you can take all that other stuff away. Just click on the toggle for what you want to be there. You can, by the way, you can scale it larger or smaller, and then save it as your default. That means anytime you use that role, you don't have to go in and delete all that garbage. I did not like that. I just wanted my initials to just be the initials. Now with the signature lines, I generally do like the time and date to appear because then I can just drag it on the time and date line. So you can actually customize exactly how you want these fields or drops, if you will, these tags. If you want the date to be there, that's great. If you don't want the date to be there, you can remove that too. You're just choosing how you want it to be laid out. Okay. Last thing I found a little bit confusing in here under the document section was before, so many times agents will send you an offer and it's like upside down, or you know, the first page is upside down and the rest of the pages are fine. I found that really crazy. So if you need to go in and adjust a page, when I was looking for the button that used to be there before to do that, it's not a button anymore. It kind of looks like these little menu dots. If you click on the menu dots, you can rotate, you can remove a page. So again, if they've scanned it in, let's pretend they just scanned in this and it's upside down, you're like, oh my God. You can actually go in and simply just rotate the page to its proper order. Again, you can do a preview or delete it altogether. So really, really easy. Then lastly, once you've got all your signatures into place, you're just gonna hit next up here at the top. And that's where it's going to ask you, would you like to put in a customized invitation? Do you want to say something specific to that person? So if I click on send custom invites, let's say it's a divorce situation and you want to remind the wife to bring a copy of the divorce decree, or maybe you want to say something specifically to the husband. You can actually go directly into customize the email, and it will only show up for that specific party. This is also, by the way, how you could deliver messages to the CC, like the title company or the lender right in here. So it just makes it a little more personal too. Once you've got this set up, you're just gonna go ahead and hit send, and voila, your invitations are off and running. to your buyer in this case and to me, so we can go ahead and start that signing process. All right, so that is it in a nutshell. On the buy side, when they're getting it, just kind of briefly show you that too, kind of very similar to what they got before, except it's a little nicer formatting. They can sign on their phones, they can sign on their tablets. When they get it, it again comes from you. Just quickly open that up here. They're going to be given some basic instructions with your contact information. They click Start Signing. It's a very streamlined look for them. It will tell them they do need to accept. And what this basically is this is something that has to do with how these are legal and binding in all 50 states. Authentisign 2.0, basically there were 2 laws that were passed to make e-signatures legal and binding in 50 states. One was called the UTA Compliancy and one was called the e-Sign Act. Both were passed by Congress, making these legal and binding in all 50 states as long as they are forced to agree and there is tracking and security behind, which this program does have. So they accept, they start the signing process. I always tell them to read it over first because it does kind of hop around to each and every place that they're going to be signing, as you can see. And it's really that simple. Tells them how many signatures they have left to go. And as you can see, the radio button, if I check yes, I could deselect it and check no, but I cannot check both. Gives me that option. And then all I have to do is hit finish. When they hit complete signing, it says, congratulations, you're done. You can download a copy or print it. So really very simple and streamlined on their end. So as I mentioned, I know I went through a lot of information today. Please don't feel overwhelmed. I know it's a lot, but if you go to our YouTube channel and you subscribe to MiRealSource Media YouTube, you will actually get a link that will let you know when Debbie does a great job of uploading all of these classes. It's a great resource. We have all of our classes are on there, with the exception, I think, of our new agent orientation, which Debbie does an awesome job with, and I think our broker orientation and roadmap and our photography classes, because those are really hands-on. Everything else is there: Cloud CMA, our lead generation classes, Instanet, TransactionDesk, RealList. We have so many. Thank you, Robert, for subscribing. By the way, all the subscribers, and I saw quite a few popping in today, we're sending you out a little gift. So Robert and everyone else that subscribed to our channel today, I will be sending that, Debbie and I will be sending that out to your offices in the next, give us a week or two. It is the holidays, so be a little patient. We might not get it out quite this week, but we'll be getting that out for you. So thank you for subscribing. Remember, the cheat sheets are also in your GoToWebinar panel. Debbie's done a great job with that. In addition to the GoToWebinar panel, you can also find those same cheat sheets right within Paragon under MLS documents. Debbie has got 82 there for you now, and she made them short and sweet. I love them. If you click on our education folder, they're called cheat sheets. If you simply click on the item you're looking for, there's a little search bar there too, so you can kind of filter it out. But Debbie made them short and sweet. There's great pictures that will just show you arrows where you need to click and be able to follow along very easily. So thanks, Debbie, for making it so easy for people like me. All right, well, thank you everybody for attending. Happy holidays. Go sell, 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 and get lots of new listings, because we certainly need the inventory out there. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.